For nearly 3,000 years, the Odyssey has captivated us with its sheer spectacle. It is a legendary tale of a king blinding a one-eyed giant, navigating the monstrous jaws of Scylla, and slaughtering a horde of arrogant suitors to reclaim his throne. Because of these fantastical elements, ancient scholars often treated the epic as pure fiction. In the 3rd century BC, the geographer Eratosthenes joked that trying to map Odysseus's real route was as pointless as trying to find the cobbler who stitched his magical bag of winds. Modern archaeology has provided a different perspective. In the late 19th century, Heinrich Schliemann used the epic's geography to pinpoint the specific hill of Hisarlik, unearthing the physical remains of Troy and the ruins of Mycenae. This monumental stonework confirmed that a highly advanced Bronze Age civilization actually existed. This excavated circular stone hearth at Pylos was discovered by American archaeologist Carl Blegan. He found King Nestor's palace in the exact location Homer described, proving the physical reality of landmarks once thought to be imaginary. The poem functions as a chronological cross-section of the Greek past. It preserves 3 distinct strata: an Iron Age surface, a Dark Age subsoil, and a deep Bronze Age bedrock. If we dig down to that deepest layer, around 1200 BC, we find the cultural memory of an interconnected Mediterranean world. This was a time of immense wealth, where highly organized palace economies dominated the coastlines. This photograph shows an actual Bronze Age shipwreck, perfectly preserved on the seabed. Finds like this confirm that vast trade networks connected Greece to Egypt and Syria, making deep-sea voyaging a routine reality. We see echoes of this aggressive maritime culture immediately after the fall of Troy, when Odysseus and his crew launch a brutal, unprovoked raid on the Cicones, who were Trojan allies. This map details the maritime attack vectors of the infamous Sea Peoples. These raiders, recorded in ancient Egyptian texts, share striking similarities with Odysseus's crew. They were likely displaced Mycenaean mercenaries who spent the end of the Bronze Age terrorizing Mediterranean empires. The heroic sea conquests in the epic are encoded memories of this geopolitical reality. They capture a period defined by violent piracy and the sudden collapse of global trade. That world eventually shattered. Around the 12th century BC, the towering palaces of the Mycenaean world were engulfed in flames and reduced to ash. Entire populations were uprooted, scattering across the sea in search of safety. Odysseus's decade-long struggle to find his way home directly mirrors this era of mass displacement and loss. This brings us to the subsoil of the text, the Dark Age. In this layer, the terrifying Cyclops serves as a metaphor for a regressed, brutal society. The epic specifically describes the Cyclopes as creatures with no assemblies, no laws, and no ships. They represent the polar opposite of the highly organized and connected palace world that had vanished. The monsters and desolate islands reflect a reality where safe harbors and predictable laws had disappeared. These tales allowed a collapsed society to map the dangers of a Mediterranean that had become hostile and unrecognizable. Finally, we reach the surface layer, the Iron Age of the 8th century BC. This was the era when centuries of oral traditions were finally formalized into a singular epic. When Odysseus finally reaches Ithaca, he doesn't face mythical beasts. He faces a very human threat, a horde of swaggering suitors consuming his estate and competing to marry his wife. This network visualization illustrates the shift in Greek power. The text refers to these suitors as basileus, or kings. They reflect the Iron Age reality of high kingship splintering into dozens of decentralized warlords fighting for local territory. The political anxieties of this Iron Age present provided the narrative framing for the ending of the epic, grounding the ancient myths in a conflict the audience of the time recognized. These stories survived through oral tradition. Bards utilized rhythmic memory devices to chant these epics across centuries, long before being committed to paper. Storytellers stitched the records of ancestors' wealth, the memory of collapse, and their present politics into a cohesive narrative. The Odyssey serves as the historical composite of a civilization in transition, preserving the shared experience of a Mediterranean world in flux. The memory of a lost world survived centuries of darkness through the rhythmic songs of bards, creating a narrative that has shaped storytelling for nearly 3 millennia.